What song are we doing?
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath, okay. Oh. Go on.
What is this that stands before me? Big black shape with eyes of heavy horses by Jethro Tull.
Hello, welcome to our final Jethro Tull review. Sorry for not being here last week. Heavy horses. Heavy horses. Blah blah blah. We did Minstrel in the Gallery, so stuff has happened. I suppose what really happened is Ian Anderson kind of grew up. He became the Ian Anderson that is the now Ian Anderson. And he moved out of living in London, don't blame him, and went to live in the country. And that had a huge effect on the way they were making music. The sales were down now, so they never sold that much again. I did think they made a misfire of an album in that Too Old to Rock and Roll. Great song. The album for me is really meh, which is really strange. And it's the same year as Minstrel. So, but obviously they were aiming for something, I don't know. Possibly commercial. There was a commercial aim to it. And then it is more rock, although not as heavy as Minstrel. I mean, and you could argue, some of the choruses and things in Minstrel, there's almost a Queen thing, maybe to the title track, almost. So I think the problem was that wasn't what he wanted to naturally do. So obviously having to go and live in the country, you make songs about farms and horses and fairies at the bottom of the garden and tree stumps with record players and all that kind of stuff. So that's excellent. And now, I mean, it's called the folk trilogy, that's what people call it. But Jethro Tull is folk, isn't it? So, they briefly became heavier. It was only a couple of years. So in that sense, Ian Anderson's argument that they were only prog for a brief amount of time, maybe that has some meaning, But to compare this to Aqualung is incredibly simple music by comparison to this. This is the most sophisticated we've got to it yet, there's some really funky stuff going on there. And what it's about musically, what the music makes you feel, is a countrified thing. It's almost a feeling of Englishness, maybe. In the way Zappa's melodies evoke something about the US, something satirically thinking about what the US is, but with this it's something English, which is very strange, obviously, because he's Scottish, and it's all about Scottish folk music. So it's slightly odd to say that, but maybe, I don't think it's European. It's European modes, obviously, but I think something specifically makes me feel English, in the way Zappa, it feels American. He's actually a big Zappa fan, so... They didn't do long songs anymore. I don't think until... I remember the lyrics. There's a lyric in this song. Her legs went off forever, like staring up into infinity. Budapest. Until Budapest. But yeah, so generally they didn't do long songs, but obviously there's a huge amount of music instilled into it. And of course, the thing about this trilogy is how much it's like Gentle Giant. There's a real Gentle Giantiness to the arrangements and the little changes and the little jumps. Nothing sounds like Gentle Giant. So in a way, the folk trilogy is the closest thing you can get to Gentle Giant, actually. And yet Ian Anderson says, oh no, we stopped doing prog, we don't do prog anymore. So yeah, rubbish. I mean, it carries on being proggy and complex and all that stuff. So rubbish, shut up Ian. What he's really trying to do is get away from rowdy rock audiences and all that. He wants to do his folky thing. So there's three of them. I had to choose one. They're all awesome. I mean, the first one is the nicest one. It must have felt like a bit of a jump for some people. And that's the one that's the most explicitly Gentle Gianty as well, actually. And that's the real I'm a Farmer Now album. This is a bit darker. And this is probably my favourite Jethro Tull album. So it doesn't have the immediacy of that first one. And then the next one, Stormwatch, is probably more rock. I mean, Stormwatch is almost the definitive Jethro Tull album. Stormwatch almost defines what a Jethro Tull like. Listen to Stormwatch. So it's very difficult to choose, but Heavy Horses is my favourite. I think one of the commenters said you should do Heavy Horses, so that was enough to push me in that direction. It's good.
Yeah, one of the commenters also, they made a point about Minstrel in the Gallery. which I thought hidden now, and they said, they didn't like the idea of it because it evoked sort of like a Renaissance feel over it, and they didn't think they were going to like it. I was exactly the same actually when I sort of thought, oh god, here we go. But I was completely won over by the music. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I've had a bit of an inverse reaction on this one because I was so impressed by Minstrel that I thought the next one's going to be great. And actually, I found this kind of banal.
I did predict that. I did think you'd say that.
The vocals are very. There's a suppressed feeling about it almost. There's sort of like there's a lot of humour in Jethro Tull, sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of humour. And although it may be in here, it doesn't come across at all. And the vocals are they're really multi-layered, and they're very, very one-dimensional. I mean, you could put on any song on the album, and it would all sound the same, and it doesn't sound that good. Okay, it doesn't sound as good as his previous stuff. And you can, if you listen to the music, you can hear the complexity in the arrangements, and I get what you're saying about Gentle Giant.
Yeah.
But it doesn't build up to anything that, for me, makes Jethro the previous Jethro Tull albums reviewed so impressive. In the sense that there is all that complexity, but it actually sounds like good music, and it just feels like there's a bit of mojo missing here. I don't know, maybe he's always saying he's always looking to move on, but sometimes when you move on, you don't quite get it right. And I just think he hasn't improved anything here. I think it sounded like a step backwards to me. A good sort of acid test is, as I was listening to Minstrel in the Gallery, I'd stop listening and the songs would repeat on me throughout the day. I'd suddenly get a little bit of a melody or something like that, or some of the vocals come through. I didn't get anything from this. It was sort of, and I normally give it about a week of listening. I try and listen every day. It was becoming hard work by the end of the week. I was starting to find bits that I liked, but I just felt to actually really get into the album, I'd have to really give it a good period of time to actually enjoy it. I mean, you can appreciate something, and there is much to appreciate in there because the guy's a great musician. He's great at composition, but to actually enjoy the music, it was gonna take a long time, and I just didn't feel
drawn in.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I wanted to put that kind of effort into to enjoy it.
I did expect that. I kind of expected you to prefer Minstrel, particularly, but possibly the early ones as well. And I think it's because, as you said, you're not a folky person, and in a way, musically it's the same, but it's folky. He's trying to make it folky and not rocky. I think it's deliberate in that he's had enough of that lot, and he's trying to get away from them. Mm-hmm. Even though actually musically, it's.
I mean, there's electric guitar in here. There's quite a lot of electric guitar.
There is noisy guitar, but the production's very different. So with Minstrel, it's really in your face. Nothing
really stands out here. Like in Minstrel, you hear bits. The flute sounds brilliant here, and the guitar sounds brilliant here. It's kind of mushy. Nothing ever stands out. There's nothing there to latch onto to say, oh, that's brilliant. I can't remember a particular solo or anything like that on there. But
I mean, there's no Lullaby is the guitar-y one, and they actually opened shows with that. I think on this tour. I believe it's that tour. That's the live album. Heavy Horses is my favourite Jethro Tull track. That's a desert island track for me. That's where the whatever it is from the melodies comes from. So it's a good album. So that was predictable, and there's nothing much to say. Should we do the eggs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me it's 6 eggs.
4 eggs for me.
It's still 4, not 3.
Yeah.
So
as I say, there's plenty to appreciate in there, but just. So I just think, we have to put a bit more effort into really get into that.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people prefer the early stuff, or the mid-70s stuff rather than, well, not early obviously. This has more in common with the very early stuff, not the first album, but the stand-up and Aqualung era, but with sort of Gentle Giantiness. Yeah, that's it. Sorry. Yeah. We could say, if you're a big folky person, you probably love it. If you like kind of like Tull, but you're a bit wary of the folky stuff, maybe not. I mean, would you think that?
Maybe, yeah.
Because for some Tull fans, Minstrel is too heavy. They actually say that's their heaviest album. But if we grew up with Sepultura.
It's a different time though, isn't it?
Yeah, particularly at our age group, because we grew up where the Black Album was the sound of guitars. That's what it should sound like.
Yeah. So that's Jethro Tull.
Yeah, that's Jethro Tull. We finished Jethro Tull. We didn't have much to say about Jethro Tull. What are we doing next? Are we going to do the Moodies?
Yeah.
You mentioned another band, didn't you?
Yeah, ELO or the Moodies.
I think Moodies, then a single, then ELO. I think you have to do Moodies before ELO.
I think Moodies is going to be quite interesting because obviously everyone associates them with a certain song.
Yeah.
And they're actually, that doesn't give a very fair reflection of them, I don't think.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah. But we'll see, won't we? Yeah. We'll see. See you next week!